I think the intellectual revolution that's going on now to restore liberty in this country is well on its way, and there's no way they're going to stop the momentum that we have started.
Well, I remember a time when gold was standard behind every dollar. Paper and virtual money has changed all that now. With government's ability to borrow well beyond their means, you'd think they're living on the other side of the rainbow.
How dare you presume to criticize the great and powerful Consider yourself lucky that we raised the debt ceiling, potentially saved millions of jobs.
Gold is not money. It's just another commodity like orange juice.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Besides, this room is crammed full of gold. What we really need is more credit.
Uh-oh, what is this? Where's all the gold?
These IOUs are as good as gold, and we have every intention of paying America back.
You might want to hang on to this one.
Pay no attention to the men behind the door. We, the people, are going back on a gold standard. Find out how. Call Swiss America the gold standard.
Don't listen to him.
Trust us. We're the wizard.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Today I want to talk about semi-precious metals. I know a lot of people are having a hard time right now, but they still want to hedge, and there's ways you can do it. A couple simple ways. What I really recommend would be copper. It's a semi-precious metal. It's an excellent investment. Now, there's been no real significant discoveries of copper in about 100 years. There's a large mine in Australia, a couple around the world, but nothing really significant. The gold and silver market are creating a trickle-down effect for base metals as investments. The demand for copper is worldwide. It's the most active base metal. It's in huge demand with a lot of growth potential. Look at China. That's 1/6 of the world's population. And the #1 users of copper. The Chinese are starting to have higher living standards. They're driving cars, or having electricity, internet's more abound, communications, plumbing. That massive population needs massive amounts of copper. So there's ways you can do it for cheap, and there's ways it can cost you a lot. I want to go through some of that, but I want to play a video that shows basically the points, and I'll reflect on those in a second. If you could play video 1, please.
Copper futures hitting new highs today, driven by a weaker dollar and increased demand. That's a theme we've been seeing for a lot of commodities: oil, gold, silver, copper. Will this run continue into the new year, or are we on the brink of a commodities correction? Joining us now, CEO and Chief Global Strategist at Euro Pacific Capital, Peter Schiff. Peter,
hey, Mark.
How are you? Good to see you.
Well, how are you?
You know, I want to talk to you about copper. Bob Pisani said the other day there's a copper ETF on the horizon. Also, other industrial metals will have ETFs like zinc and aluminum. And, you know, I'm no expert, but it seems to me that every time we've seen an ETF pop up in the commodities market, it has led to a run-up in the price of the underlying. You think that's going to happen with copper?
Well, sure. People anticipate the fact that these ETFs are going to be major buyers, and they try to front-run the ETFs. But, you know, I don't think that's what's driving the market. The ETFs are attracted by the high return. So the ETFs are showing up because people want exposure to commodities. But they're not the dog, they're the tail. You know, what's driving commodities is inflation. It's governments around the world, particularly the Federal Reserve, creating too much money, debasing the value of the dollar. You know, as we speak, the dollar is at an all-time record low against the Swiss franc today. It's at an all-time record low against the Australian dollar. You need $30 to buy an ounce of silver. You need about $1,400 to buy an ounce of gold. You almost need $14 to buy a bushel of soybeans. You've never seen these prices. Oil, you need $92 almost to buy a barrel of oil. But you're seeing these high commodity prices during a time where the economy is very weak. You know,
so that means as the economy strengthens, commodity prices go higher, right?
Well,
More demand?
The economy's not going to strengthen, especially with rising inflation and ultimately rising interest rates. There are a lot of people that are jumping to the false conclusion that rising interest rates or rising commodity prices somehow indicate that the economy is going to strengthen. They don't indicate that at all. They indicate more inflation.
I'm sorry, Peter. I'm told we're out of time, but I have to ask you this. If the economy is not going to pick up, then where's the demand for the commodities going to come from?
Well, it's going to come from all around the world. I mean, the Asian economies are going to pick up, but it's inflation. If the government creates money, prices have to rise to compensate for the loss of value of our money. And so what's going to happen is people are going to buy a lot less stuff, but the stuff they buy is going to cost a lot more money.
Peter, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to hear your view. Peter,
thank you.
China imported 375,000 tons of copper in March. That's up 40% since January, despite modest demand from manufacturers and a background of slowing growth. That's created a surge in copper prices to $4,900 per ton.
The major reason behind that is the Chinese government is providing a major fiscal boost to domestic investment, which might support continued demand for these commodities on local market, which could indeed support a robust consumption of such commodities by the Chinese economy itself.
But China has wider motives for investing in copper stocks. Tim McCutcheon of DBM Partners says with $2 trillion of reserves, China is diversifying out of U.S. bonds and dollar holdings, as well as building strategic stocks.
At some point in the future, there's going to be massive dollar inflation, which will make dollars worth less than they are now, and your ability to buy things less than it is now. And so I think what the Chinese are trying to do is to mitigate the effects of that as much as possible by buying hard assets.
At the G20 summit in London, China pushed hard for an alternative to the dollar as the world's dominant currency.
Gold is not the only metal on the rise. Copper has been trading at 14-month highs. Take a look at the chart of how copper is trading. Today it's down about 1% on the day, but look at that move that it's had since the beginning of the year. Really incredible. Is copper the new gold?
Now over to Melbourne and a focus on industrial metals. Copper prices up to a 10-month high. Zinc and nickel gaining for a 5th day and at 11-month highs. Part of it due to stockpiling in China. Some investors saying base metal prices may yet decline as that inventory building ends. Well, Peter Rudd is chairman of the Melbourne Mining Club and director of mining and resources at Balnave Capital. He's also establishing the Balnave Capital Emerging Resource Fund to invest in, you guessed it, emerging resource companies. Peter, very good day. Thanks for joining us today. Just tell me the fundamental picture here on base metals. Do you see prices coming off?
They might come off slightly, but generally, in the medium to longer term, I think they're going to continue to rise.
And rise quite a lot. I mean, do you see gains of 40, 50, doubling, trebling, that kind of level?
It's going to vary according to the particular commodity. Some I think will be relatively flat, such as aluminium. That's because of the oversupply of that particular metal. But others, like copper, I can see lifts of the order of 15, 20, 30%, largely for the same reason, that there's limited supply coming on stream and stockpiles aren't all that high.
As each of your dollars becomes worth less these days, all your hard-earned savings are starting to decrease. The U.S. dollar's value has fallen by more than 20%, and many financial experts believe it has an even longer way to go down. Fox Toledo's Christy Lee, who has several years of experience in the financial field, has been recommending investing in precious metals like gold and silver. Now, she is recommending another metal in today's Market Minute.
Remember when these all used to be made from real copper? The government stopped using the metal to make them because the penny became worth less than the copper it was made out of. Now copper is becoming so valuable that some are calling it the new gold. This year, copper beat out gold with a 28% return. Gold was just below with a 25%. Silver was the big winner with a 70% return. But going into this year, the red metal might be poised to be the best performing metal. There's growing demand and tight supply. Industrial production is strengthening in developing nations, which creates a greater need for copper. The price right now is being driven by car sales and housing, which need copper.
But I mean, what does this mean for prices? Does it mean that the prices of all these things, so rare earths, so oil, copper, water, just go higher and higher as China consumes more and more, and the rest of us, by the way, consume more and more?
They have to go higher. And incidentally, they'll go higher regardless of how much we consume. I mean, in this country, we're actually consuming less oil than we did, let's say, in 2006, yet oil prices are quite a bit higher. And this is acting as a big, huge tax on the American public, and the tax will continue to grow as China continues to grow. But what I'm worried about, Deirdre, and really, really worried, and causes me to lose sleep at night, are things like rare earths and even copper. There's growing scarcity of copper. Goldman Sachs, I don't know, 2 weeks ago said that in 3 years, copper could be unimaginably high in price. It's so scarce in 3 years that you won't be able to find a price that equates supply and demand.
Some companies, I don't know if it's true or not, but we've heard through sources, are actually taking the copper and just putting it in warehouses,
Absolutely.
right? Just storing it up.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's exactly what this country should be doing. It should be creating rare earth storages like we did for oil. I mean, but oil right now, I mean, Deng in 1992, before anyone knew anything, Deng said, yes, the Middle East has oil, but we have rare earths. And now, 20 years later, it becomes pretty clear that rare earths might be even more valuable than hydrocarbons, because if we're going to ever transition from hydrocarbons, we're going to need rare earths. Not having strategic reserves of these particular metals, rare earths and even copper and even silver, which you need for solar, is, in my opinion, I don't want to sound apocalyptic about this, but it is, in my opinion, not putting the Manhattan Project, which is the project that we used to build the atom bomb in the 1940s, putting it on hold, just, skipping it, knowing full well Germany was building an atom bomb. That's how silly.
You see this as the equivalent?
Yes, I do, because we cannot run this country without rare earths. We probably cannot run this country without copper. We will not be able to run this country without silver. There are a lot of critical metals that we are just totally ignoring. For investors, great times. You buy commodities, you know they're going to be volatile, up and down, but they're by far the best thing. So, decidedly up.
Alrighty, I want to talk about copper, how the right ways to buy it, the wrong ways to do it, and hold your questions to the end. I'll probably get over most of it. Now, why do you want copper in the first place? Well, as the dollar goes down, the copper is going to retain its value. It's rare, it's used, it's a tangible good. It's a store of value like silver. But this is going to be more for day-to-day needs, just toiletries and stuff like that. It'd be good to have around for whatever you may have forgot, because we're all going to forget to put certain things aside. That'll bail you out. Now, first off, look at on eBay, copper bullion sellers. They tell you that since 1983, pennies are only 2.5% copper. That is completely true. But what about before 1983? I guess they must have just forgot to mention that pennies from 1909 to 1982 are 95% pure copper. The price of copper is on the rise. It's going to go higher. Ben Bernanke was saying that if the economy did not show significant improvement soon, they were going to do quantitative easing. It's impossible for the economy to strengthen. It's all this inflation that's got it down. So they're going to print more money. That means that metals are going to go up along with everything else. Collect pennies while you can. 1982 and below. Pennies will soon disappear from circulation, just like silver already has. Another thing to look at on eBay. What is the cost of a 1-ounce copper round? They range between $5 to $20 an ounce, plus shipping. So do the math. $20 times 16, that's $3.20 a pound. Wait a minute. The price of copper is only $3.50 a pound. That means that copper prices have to go up about $300 a pound before you even break even. What kind of investment is that? Second, don't buy copper shot, wire, or scrap. It's exactly that. It's scrap. Different sizes, different weights, different purities. Imagine the day that you want to sell this copper. It has to be tested for purity. It has to be weighed, Doesn't sound too bad until you walk in with a big bag full of 1,000,000 tiny pieces of copper the size of a breath mint, or large, sharpened, waste and wires. Pennies are the same consistency, same weight, same purity, meaning all the same value. You can determine this and prove its value fast and get paid fast. Very simple. There's about 145 pennies in a pound, so 3 rolls equals a pound. Copper is sold by the pound. There you go. The cheapest way to obtain copper would be to collect pennies 1981 and older. That's the only way to be sure without a sorter. They're 95%. It's better than buying scrap copper and shot. Believe me, you're going to get screwed. Let's see. Another good way to do this would be collecting nickels. All nickels, all years. They're going to be 75% copper, 25% nickel. There's no need to sort dates. Just pick them out of your change and put them aside. What do you need nickel for? It's used in hard drives, rechargeable batteries, cookware, kitchen appliances, cutware, surgical instruments. It's used to make several heat and electrical super resistant alloys. Collect the pennies and the nickels now. According to Grisham's law, bad money drives out good. Basically, if 2 coins have the same value as legal tender, but one contains a metal of a different value, the coin composed of the cheaper metal will be used for payment, while those made of more expensive metals will be hoarded and they disappear from circulation. This is what happened with the silver coins in circulation, and this is what's starting to happen with copper. Now, you don't want to melt down pennies or nickels. Right now, they're coins. They have a specific weight, value, and purity, meaning they all have the same value. Don't fool around, don't fum around with it. You know exactly what it's worth. All you have to do, walk into a bank and just ask them for a box of pennies, or just all the change, all the nickels you have, put those aside. Don't go into a bank and get a box of nickels. If you have that kind of money to throw into nickel, I think it'd be much better invested in silver mercury dimes. You don't want to hoard a bunch of scrap metal. It's probably not worth your time. Like, look at steel. You make steel from iron, and iron is one of the most common elements on Earth. Plus, you have to leave it outside to rust. That would be the same with aluminum, tin, zinc. Now, I do agree that scrap metal would hold its value better than fiat currency, but you don't make much money. Plus, there's different grades, and it's heavy. It takes a lot to make it worth your time. And worse yet, unless you live out in the middle of nowhere, you can make yourself a target for robbery. Let's say that people start seeing this big old bunch of metal and they need money. They're going to want to take it. And if they start taking a bunch of metal from your home or looking around, they might see what you have in your house. And they might want to start looking around, and they might bust into your house and take whatever's in there. So you don't want to make your home a target. You don't want to have a bunch of crap outside. If you want to collect metals, sell them, buy silver with it, a little bit at a time, but don't hoard it up in your backyard or something. You don't want people coming around looking inside your home. Just sell it to buy other metals, or I wouldn't bother to do it myself. I strongly suggest silver with any extra money you have, but you can obtain copper for free. Alrighty, can you play video 2?
Hey guys, I've had a little bit of time today to do another video. Now this video is for those of you out there who are having a difficult time buying silver because the price is really exploding quickly. And let's face it, 10 silver American Eagles right now are going for somewhere in the neighborhood of $320 to $330 or more. And that's not inexpensive. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me. It's a lot of money to most people I know. So for those of you out there who want to be able to have some measure of protection against hyperinflation and just can't afford to buy very much silver, here's something every single one of us can do. I do it myself because you know what? I don't know of too many investments on the face of the planet that offer you a 300% return on your money with zero downside risk. Let's talk about alternate hedges against hyperinflation. Pennies and nickels. Every single penny in circulation made between 1909 and 1982 is 95% pure copper. Okay? All pre-1983 pennies. Now today copper closed at $4.51 per pound, not ounces, that's $4.51 per pound. And what that means is this: every single pre-1983 penny you find in circulation is now worth almost 3 cents in metal value. That's 300% of face value. That means you have zero downside risk when you go to the bank and spend $25 on one of these. Now, I'm not suggesting you hoard pennies. I'm not suggesting you melt them, which is currently illegal. What I'm saying is this: I suggest pennies and nickels, and I'll get to the nickels in a minute. Now, in a box like this one that you can get from your bank for $25, you will find that approximately 1/3 of the pennies in this box are pre-1983, 95% copper. Now think about that for a moment. What that means is that for approximately $8, you will get nearly $25 in copper out of one box of pennies. So separate the copper pennies and save them, and the others that are made out of zinc, take them back and buy another box. And if and when we hit hyperinflation, 100 copper pennies will be worth a lot more than one paper dollar. In fact, they already are. 100 copper pennies are actually worth 3 paper dollars right now, today. And nickels, each and every nickel in circulation, regardless of the date on it, even if it says 2010 or 2011, is made of 25% nickel and 75% copper. And each one is now worth 7.3 cents today. That's 145% of face value. Now guys, to find the pennies, if you have kids, this is actually a fun thing to do. You separate the pennies, okay? Open them up and play quarters with them. If you've ever played quarters in college or with friends, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You do it like this. When you use a copper penny, it makes a very distinctive ting, or a ding, or a ringing sound. Listen. Hopefully you can hear that. And when you do it with the zinc pennies, they sound like duds. So it's very easy and very effective to go through a box of pennies while you're watching TV with your kids or whatever, however you want to do it. That's up to you. If you're too proud to do it, that's fine. I'm just telling you a great way to essentially get a 300% no-risk return on your dollars, okay? So you do the ding test, you find your pennies. If you want to go online to YouTube, there are numerous videos out there. People have invented these little machines that will separate them for you based on the weight, because the copper pennies are slightly heavier than the zinc pennies, and that's fine too. You can make an investment in one of those little machines. But I do think this is a unique opportunity for those of us who are in the know to take advantage of something that anyone can take advantage of, but most people have no idea. And it's a little bit of a flashback, because in the 60s, when they started to take the silver out of our coinage, there were a lucky few who knew what was going on, and they started to remove the silver coins from circulation. So this is your chance. And based on, what we've done around here, me and the kids, we've found that in a box of pennies, approximately 30 to 40% of the pennies in every box are copper. Now, the nickels, just to sum up, every single nickel is worth saving. Put them in a jar or take $2 to the bank, get a roll, take $100 to the bank and get a box of nickels. If we hit hyperinflation, the guys sitting on nickels are going to be able to buy bread, you're going to be able to buy food, you're going to be able to trade those for something, whereas the people with paper dollars, not so much. And if you want to tune in on a daily basis to find the actual fluctuating values of all of these coins, including silver coins, Morgan dollars, you can go to coinflation.com. It's a site I visit just about every day or every other day because they also have great news there. So I hope it helps you, or share it with somebody who it might help, and I wish you only the best. I want to thank you all again for tuning in, for supporting my channel, and for sharing the word and spreading the message. We are all in this thing together. Have a super night, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, so pennies and nickels have the same strengths and weaknesses as junk silver coins, right? People would recognize it as legal tender right away. Copper bars, I don't recommend them. They're a horrible investment, but people might not even recognize them right away. So just do the pennies. People will know what they are. They'll get the years memorized pretty quickly like they did with silver. No big deal. My personal advice would be to hoard all pennies 1982 and older. Only half of the 1982 pennies are going to be copper. They stopped production of them in the middle of the year, so put all the 82s aside. You can buy a copper sorter on eBay. They're about 35 bucks. It's copper penny sorter. That'd be the best way. It's the only way to know for sure, or do the ding test, which I'm not really that good at. But put that 82s aside and all the older ones in a separate jar. Think about it like this. If you're going to buy pennies on eBay, you've got wheat pennies which go for more. They cost more, but regardless, they have the same copper content. If you do decide to buy pennies on eBay, buy just plain Abraham Lincoln silver or copper pennies. You don't want to be a coin collector. You want to be a copper investor, a copper hoarder. So just keep that in mind. The way I see it, you've got, it's not official, but the way I look at it, there's 3 grades of pennies. The lowest grade are going to be your 82s, because people have to either ding each and every single one or throw them through a sorter. They don't know for sure. So they get the lowest amount on eBay all the time. And ugly Abes, which are copper pennies that are all discolored and they got that green lime or whatever it is all over them, they always get the least amount. The Lincoln Memorial was from 1959 to 1981, or present day, but the copper ones are run from those years. The second grade would be the wheats from 1909 to 58. They go for a bit more than your standard Lincoln. Lincolns will get basically melt value from 59 to 81, straight up melt value for those. But you'll get less if you got 82 in the mixes. So from 1959 to 1981, put those in a separate jar. Everything below 1958 and below are going to be your wheats. Those get the highest on eBay. Like a Morgan and a piece dollar get more, the Morgan gets more than a piece, the wheat goes for more than the Lincoln. It's older, it's just got a higher premium, it's more desired. Easy way to do this. Go to the bank. First off, you want to see if they charge more than $25 for a $25 box of pennies. If they do charge you extra, don't take it. You'll lose more money in the transaction than you'll gain. If they don't charge you, then take it. Sort them, cash them back in. Put the copper aside and get your money back. If they do charge you, just go to the grocery store or convenience stores and just ask for a couple rows of pennies. You know, say you and your nephew are working on a penny collection or something. Who's going to know what you're doing? And like I said, all your nickels, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Don't buy boxes. If you're going to throw that kind of money at nickel, you'll be far better off in silver. This is a cheap way to hedge your purchasing power. So, do we have any questions so far? Guess I'll start on the top and work my way down. see. Okay. Copper is gold. Let's see. Pennies are a misuse of copper and zinc. I guess I can agree to that to a point. Let's see. Picking house. Let me see. Yeah. 1982's 50-50 chance of being 95%. Yeah. Just put them all aside, or get a sorter, or just do the ding test. You guys will probably get better at it than I am. And put them aside. Put them separate. You see nickels, all nickels. Hoarding pennies is not illegal. It's illegal to melt them down. And wartime nickels or silver, yes, from not all of them, but 1942, half of those, to 1945, or not half of 1942 are silver, to 1945. They used nickel in the tank armor, I believe, so it was in short supply. They put silver in the nickels. I don't think we'll run into those in the circulation, though. Let's see. Yes, pennies are actually money. That's what I call real money, not currency. It has tangible value, so everybody would know that and accept it. Does the copper sorter sort pennies for you? It can detect copper. From what I understand, it uses copper is a pretty good conductor, so it uses an electrical charge and somehow it separates it. It'll throw. They're pretty cheap. It throws them to the zinc to one side, copper to the other. So if you put like a little wall, you can make real easy props. They show how you do it on YouTube, and it'll sort it for you. They're not 100% accurate, but they're pretty close. Don't save nickels. I would start saving those. Those are basically for free. And 1964, what's the best way to find silver coins? Some people I've heard that go to the bank and do the same thing with dimes if they don't charge you extra. Go through a whole box of dimes and there will be some silver in there. I know cashiers that do that. They can see it from the side. You get familiar with it. They see it, they tear it open, they swap out the silver for face value, and there you go. But you probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be worth your time. Let me see. Wouldn't you have to pay shipping from eBay? Yeah, you would. But they don't sell. You don't get your asking price because you have to pay shipping. People keep that in mind as well. I think a box of copper the last time of copper pennies went for $80 last time I think I checked it out. They sold for 60 because it was about 20 bucks in shipping. How much goldfish are? How much gold are in the goldfish? I don't know. I guess I can check them out. It is shipping in zinc penny form, like that. What is the best way to invest? Find 64. Just transactions. When someone drops it in your hand, you'll be able to hear it. It makes a real high pitch. So you just get familiar. Go to a coin shop, buy a dime or a quarter, and just toss it in your hand and listen to it. You'll pick it up pretty quickly. I started saving and sorting pennies, and that's what videos in the 60s. That's good. Let's see. Any recommendations on an inexpensive sorter? They're only like 35 bucks, and I think that includes shipping, if I remember correctly. So they're not that much on eBay. Really easy to use too. Just you can use a shoebox to make a separator. Zinc form. I'd say a wooden table would be the best place for the ding test on pennies. Concrete doesn't really work that well. Maybe that's what my problem was. And like linoleum probably wouldn't work either. I'd say a wooden table. And yeah, the best way if you don't have a sorter, 1981 and below. All right, let's see. Okie dokie. All right, folks, anything else, I guess, before I just talk a little bit more about copper? Indian head pennies, what were they made of? They were made of copper as well, but they're not going to be exactly 95%. They weren't that pure. They couldn't. The technology wasn't the same as ours. So even copper sorters with pennies from the 40s, they sometimes have trouble reading them or detecting them in really old wheat pennies because the it wasn't consistent. But they were high 90% copper. What else are dimes made of? The silver dimes were 90% silver and 10% copper. Today it's just clad, zinc clad. Yeah, they're about 95%. They tried, but it wasn't always as accurate. Yeah, from the Jefferson War nickel, they call them, from 1942 to 1945, but they're pretty rare. I've yet to find one in circulation. What about World War II pennies? From 1943, those are steel. Copper, they used it for ammunition, so they even tried plastic pennies, I believe. That didn't work out, so they used steel instead. Those are those black ones you see in the coin shops. Will safe copper pennies be used for barter only or what? I would say they'd start out as barter, but as copper becomes more scarce, then they'll probably melt them down or something. But it's real money. That's the way to look at it. The same as silver junk coins. They're going to go up, so it's real money. Keep that aside. Let's see. I don't know anything about double stamped pennies. Let me see. Look for them. They're worth $100. Let's see. Okay. Pennies. If you don't have a sorter or you don't want to bother with the ding test, from 1981 and below. Collect all those and put them aside. If you find a wheat penny, they'll put those aside in a separate little jar. Those you get top dollar for. They always go for more. A regular Lincoln Memorial goes for, I believe, 2-3 cents right now. But the wheat penny goes for about 4 to 6. And yes, copper would be the poor man's silver. Grisham's law, that's what happened with silver. People knew that it was worth something, and they started pulling them out of circulation. That's why they're all gone. That's starting to happen with copper. In the video, the guy said that about 30% were copper. I think probably more like 25%, maybe a little less than that when I did it, and I haven't done it for about a year. Let's see what else. The copper sorter on eBay sorts copper and silver. It's 35. Yeah, that's the one. I have one of those myself. Now, I would, with the copper sorter, the pennies that you check the dates on and you put aside, throw those through the sorter. Because you got to remember, if you do this a couple times, you'll be surprised at how filthy money actually is. Your hands will be black, your fingertips. So basically, all that dirt and grime or whatever gets stuck inside the machine, so it'll beat it down and leave it unusable after a while. So the ones that you believe are copper, throw them through there just to make sure. But it will get all tarnished up. There's like $500 ones that after you put so many, it's useless. Canadian pennies, they're actually, the ones that are copper are 98% copper, I believe, I believe they stopped that in 1986, but I'm not sure. Let me see how pure Canadian coins. As far as copper, I know, I think it's 96%, 98%. Sometimes I ask for a roll of Nicholas's change when I drive. Why not? Just melt value. It's about 7 cents, so you just went up you just made a little bit of profit in metal value. Let's see. Why did I stop sorting copper? Me and one of my buddies, I got him to join in with me. His bank, they didn't charge for boxes of pennies. I wanted to show you. We'd go and get these $25 box for 25 bucks. But as copper rose, they started charging $7 a box. So it was a loss. What we did do at the beginning, I gave him 25 bucks. He took 25 bucks of his own. We got 2 boxes. We sorted through them. We split the copper. We went to my bank, which there's no they don't take any percentage when you cash your money. So we just cash that in and divide it. But after they started charging, it wasn't worth it. So now I just ask for a couple of rolls every now and then. And if they look at me or something, me and my nephew were putting a coin collection together, and nobody thinks anything of it. I was told that you talk interestingly. Came up despite being about metals. Tin and aluminum, all those, there's not much money to be made. They will hold value better than the than dollars that are being inflated away. However, it takes a lot of aluminum and zinc to be worth anything. And plus that you're going to make yourself a target. Let's say that you've got bins of this stuff outside in your yard. People see that, they're hurting for money. They know they can take that and cash it in. Well, what's to stop them from looking in your house? And then when they start looking in your house, what's to stop them from breaking in? We're going to be getting, the crime rate's been going up. Right now it's bad. But imagine when we can't afford to pay people unemployment and welfare and Social Security. That's going to be a big increase in crime. So it's not worth it for the money. I would just collect maybe a bin or two and take it and cash it in. Pick up silver with the money. But I would not recommend putting it's going to rust and, takes up a lot of room anyway. Let me see, wash your hands. Yeah, you really got to scrub them. Yeah, they're really filthy after messing with those pennies. Coinflation.com is where you can check the melt value. Does the coin sort of stop working if it gets dirty? After a while, it doesn't really read as well. You can break them up and clean them up, but I don't know how to do it myself. But I forgot how many. It was like a couple $1,000s worth of pennies, so you don't have to worry about that. It'd be quite a while. You'll get your money's worth out of it for sure. But eventually all that tarnish messes it up. Canadian pennies are going out of circulation January. Yeah. And they're made of zinc. All this inflation, we can't even, like Ron Paul said, we can't even hold a zinc standard. Zinc is becoming too expensive. That should be saying something right there. I've been thinking of ditching my nickel collection. If that's what I would recommend, that's another thing I was going to talk to people. If you collect all these, if you want to cash them in, turn it into silver. There's excellent growth potential there. For those of y'all that didn't see this show last week, subscribe to my YouTube channel or just check out the video I did. It's about an hour, but once you watch that, you don't need me anymore. You'll know pretty much everything I know about silver and why I believe it's incredibly undervalued. But you know, I'm not going to say no to free money, pennies and nickels either. Let me see, First Bank, fiat currency. Kennedys. If I might ask, what year Kennedys were they? '64 were 90% silver. The others were 40%. Bad money. Oh. Got froze up. Let me go back here. I'm sorry. What happened? Okay. Amaro, I don't really know anything about it. I've heard of it, but I don't know. It would just do the same thing, though. If it's fiat currency, all fiat currencies have failed in the past, and this is the first time in history that the entire world is on fiat currency, so we'll be probably the ones to hit hardest, and everybody else will go back to a gold standard. Yeah, I was reading against nickels that it's heavy and take up a lot of room. That is correct. I don't think that people are going to have tons and tons. You're not going to have 5-gallon buckets full, I don't think. I don't think there's enough time unless you go and you buy boxes, which I don't recommend. But, you know, just if you had a couple pickle jars, that's not so bad. And then if you do, just cash them in and buy silver with them. Especially right now, silver's pretty low, so you'd make a lot more in the long run. But they do take up a lot of room, and scrap metal takes up even more, and there's even less money to be made, which is why I don't recommend that. Let me see. Tally sticks, I don't know. How long until this gold standard goes into effect? I don't know. I mean, I would have thought that it would have went down in '08, but everybody rushed into the dollar, which was the stupidest place to be, but that propped us up temporarily. If something else happens, I don't know, but I wouldn't say we have more than half a decade at best, at the very best. Alrighty, anybody else got any questions? Why not boxes of nickels? Both at the same time. Let me see. Well, boxes of nickels, that's about $100, I believe. So, if you bought a box of nickels, you wouldn't make as much as you would on silvers, on silver coins. Silver is way undervalued, much more. So you'd be much better off buying silver coins than nickels, for that reason. On average, what is a percentage of spot you will get if you find silver? By fine silver, are you referring to like pure bullion, or are you talking about like silverware? At James. Cannot spar. You could. Oh, you're probably looking at. I'm not sure actually. I would sold a large bar like that for a 1 ounce. You pay a higher premium. It's about probably $3 over spot right now. But you pay higher premium the smaller it is. But I would recommend it if you could get it swapped out, a 10-ounce bar for 10 rounds. I would do that because it's going to go up pretty high, and you might want to break it up into smaller increments. Yeah, no, don't go for that. That's too cheap. How much silver should each person know? I would say at least 100 face dollars worth. So basically a quarter, 25 cents, 4 quarters in a dollar. 100 face dollars worth would be a good start that you could barter with it for a while and you could start something up afterwards. Is junk silver the best and most useful? It'd be the most recognizable and probably the most useful at first. But I would say, like myself, I have lots of bullion. It's 1 ounce, $9.99, so I get exact spot worth. I know exactly what it's worth. So it's for if you want to build up wealth, then bullion's probably your way to go. You can use Peace, Morgan, dollars, Eagles, or generic rounds, which are my personal preference because you get they're a bit cheaper. Spending coins in Utah and other states. There's places that'll do it. I mean, you can on Craigslist right now. I see people wanting to, I'll trade you this for old silver coins right now. I saw on the internet a gas station that was selling gas for silver quarters, or 25 cents if you paid in silver change. It's already starting up. I mean, the dollar's losing strength all over the place. Oh, missed the answer about silver versus barter. Both the pennies, nickels, and junk silver you could use to barter. Sorry guys, I lost connection. I was talking about how silver, copper, and nickel would be able to use for barter. People would recognize it as money right away, so you could use it for transactions very easily, as opposed to like generic rounds. They wouldn't recognize it at first. They couldn't tell between fake and real. So it's good to have both. You have the pennies, the junk silver coins, and the nickels for barter, and then you have bullion for profit potential, building something up. We'll have to rebuild this country, and you're going to need hard collateral to do so. There'll be no such thing as credit. Alrighty guys, my time's about up, so I'll hit any more last questions if you got them. And then there's a video I want you guys to check out after the show. How do you compare straight barter? Well, the problem with just straight out barters, let's say that I was using the example, if somebody grows chickens and I grow a tomato, in the wintertime, if I want to buy a chicken from him, he's going to take a tomato IOU from me. And if he did, what are the chances that the guy he needs something from is going to take that IOU? And what if the tomatoes don't come in? Right? So if I gave him a silver coin or something of value, he could instantly take that for the chicken and then go buy what he needs if he didn't want tomatoes right away. He can get his shoes resewn or his pants done or something. What are the odds? Like to say somebody catches fish and somebody else raises chickens. What are the odds that if the guy that has a chicken wants a fish and the guy that has a fish wants a chicken, what are the odds that they're going to meet up? That's going to be very unlikely. If you have money, you could just swap what you need. That's why if you have civilization, you need a form of currency that nobody can manipulate, which would be real money. What we have right now, a dollar bill, is not a dollar. It's just that. It's a bill for a dollar. A dollar was was based off the Spanish mill dollar, 0.7735 ounces of silver. So a $5 bill is a bill for 5 silver dollars. That's why you call it a note, like, you know, you mortgage your note. Same thing. Do you think other things would be money in that scenario? Well, yeah, if you had skills. I mean, you could barter skills out. It wouldn't be as likely, but yeah, you could. Let's say if you knew how to resew shoes, you could put a sign out, hey, you know, then you could, somebody would come up, hey, do you want this if you sew my shoes up? That could happen too, but it would be not as beneficial, though, as having hard money. It depends how many ounces of silver should you own. It depends. Your average house, probably about 300 ounces of silver. You know, that's a pretty decent house. Look at it as that a way as a kind of a point of reference. Look at today's market value, what you could do with that money. You know, you could start up a business, whatever. You use that as an example. Everybody's going to be different. I wanted enough to buy several houses, so I'm still working on that. That means if I start a business, I don't know that I'm going to be successful. I have a chance, but what if I fail? I don't want to be nowhere. I want to be able to try a couple times. So at least 100 face value dollars worth, but 300 ounces would be very good. The more the better. And silver is undervalued. I think you could probably buy a house, you know, when people catch on, probably 200, maybe less than that, when they really realize how scarce it is. There's probably 3 times more silver out there than gold, or gold than silver. When and where do you store physical silver and coins? I would keep some buried, probably some at home in a safe or hidden, and some in a safety deposit box. Keep it in a couple different areas, not just one place. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a whole bunch. I'd say most of it hidden. Bury it somewhere. Use landmarkers and bury it. Yeah, and I wouldn't say have very much in there. I just have at home a good handful. In your safety deposit box, you know, I keep insurance papers and stuff like that. I keep a little bit in there just in case something happens here. I can get to real money. But most of it, bury it somewhere. Yeah, criminals can't steal what they can't find. All right, guys, I guess I'm about out, but don't melt pennies down. They're worth something in coin form. Everybody knows what they are. Don't buy scrap. Don't buy junk to melt down. It's a waste. And definitely do not buy bullion. It's a big ripoff. It's a huge investment for the guy selling them to people on eBay. But for you, it's horrible. Check out my YouTube channel. Shan just put a link. Got, you know, different gun topics and stuff like that on there. Yeah, I believe firearms would be a necessity. I get into a little bit of that and hedging, plus the previous shows if you guys want to check that out. I recommend the silver one big time. Alrighty, I guess can you play that last vid? It's one that I really like, and I think you guys will enjoy it too, especially if you're hardcore Ron Paul supporters.
My name is John McNaughton. For a long time, I didn't know if I wanted to paint this picture because I worried that it might be too controversial. But as an American, I knew I couldn't be still. I had to do something. I wondered if the presidents of the past could speak to us today, what would they say? Our country has gone through a lot of changes in the last 223 years. Some things for the better, and some for the worse. How would the presidents of the past feel about the uncontrolled spending and overwhelming expansion of government which is occurring today? This man represents every man, woman, and child who is an American. Like you and me, he hopes for a better life, to find the American dream of happiness and prosperity. But now, because of unconstitutional acts, imposed upon the American people by our government, we stand on the precipice of disaster. The painting symbolically suggests the actions of Barack Obama as well as other presidents. Yes, their actions speak louder than words, as do the brushstrokes in my painting. Mr. President, you took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.